Hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome to Swagger's Lifestyle. Hope you're good. I like to say compliments of the season. Yes, this is December. December is time for what? For a lot of people to, wind down the whole of the activities, family time for you to enjoy the money that you've been making since January. Time for Christmas, the best time of the year. Time for Boxing Day, the gifts keep coming in. But this is just an amazing time. Everybody looks forward to December because they know that, December, let's just chill. So I like to say compliments of the season. And I know that this particular December, because a lot of people have been asking how Christmas will be, how we want to be. I know that it's going to be amazing. There's going to be provision. Everybody will be happy at the end of the day. At the end, we go day all right by His grace. So we're back with our popular series. The truth about marriage no one talks about. So when we put out the flyers, a lot of people were like, finally, yay, this is good. And today's conversation is going to be one that's going to be, let me not let the cat out of the bag, but it's going to be explosive, amazing, and it's going to be intense. Yeah. But we're going to have the conversation. So I have the three wonderful people I always have the conversation with. So I'll allow them to please introduce themselves. Ladies first, please.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Adekunbi Fashakin, also known as Eat, Heal, Flourish. I am a wife, mom, healthy food enthusiast, makeup artist, food technologist, food safety manager, and all of those beautiful things. It's lovely to be here. Thank you once again, Gbogbo Swagger, for having me on your
Thank
page.
you for coming to the show. Thank you so much. Babs.
Hi guys, it's Babatune. I'm a businessman. Nice to be here again. That was an honor to be here. Thanks guys for having us.
Thank you. And we have Lucas.
Hi everyone. Sorry,
Hi, Lucas.
I can't see my face at the moment. I solve problems. Thank you, Funke, for having me here. And let's do this.
Good. So today we're going to be talking about insecurity in marriage. That's the conversation. That is our focus for today. Now, to different people, insecurity means different things. Yeah. And now in the context of marriage, so I would, put it out there. What is insecurity in marriage to you? Ladies first.
These ladies first that we are doing today, please don't let us. Insecurity in marriage. Wow. It means many things to different people. You could come from the financial angle, you could come from the sexual angle, you could come from the emotional angle. I just basically think that when you now become uncomfortable about certain things that you never made or never indicated was a problem before, then I think you begin to show those signs of insecurity, and then heads are butting and all of that. So it all depends. What is insecurity to one person may differ, to another person. So I don't want to generalize, but everyone knows where it pinches the most. Everyone knows where, so I think that's my take on that. Thank you.
Okay, so to you, what is insecurity in marriage?
Oh, to me?
Yes.
I think I would say that insecurity to me would basically be anything that hampers my own fundamental human rights as a human being, first of all, anything that impairs the quality of my life. And then, yes, I think that's what I would call insecurity. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's go to the guys or the men.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas, you want to go first? Okay, Babs, over to you.
All right. Okay. So insecurity in marriage, or most times when we talk about relationship, marriage, or in the Swagger show, I usually like to try to address the situation from a broader perspective, because I know that we have viewers who are not married, who maybe at some point down the line they're gonna get married. So, but insecurity in relationship is also what would translate, or something is also transferable into marriage as well. So like it's Liv and Prosper said earlier that you can come from different angles when you talk about insecurity. You can actually talk about the emotional, you can talk about financial, you can talk about the physical insecurity actually, because we've had events of people who get abused in marriages and relationships that often results in death, uh, physical disability, mental disability as well. So yeah, when you're talking about insecurity, we can talk about the physical aspect, talk about the financial aspect, emotional aspect, mental aspect as well. So I don't know if this is the right time to start tearing these things apart, but these insecurities, they hit different. For the financial aspect, is the case of getting worried about how we do in this relationship, in this marriage financially. Is, are we earning enough to provide for the family? When we're talking about the emotional bit, that maybe one partner is not doing enough to give comfort to the other party when it comes to being secure in the relationship. I mean, I am with my partner and a lady passes by in my own case and my eyes are all over the place. Or I'm always passing comments, lewd comments about other ladies when my partner is there. I am in a way not offering the security that she would like. Um, that's emotional. Mental one is if I am regularly tearing down my partner or I am not correcting in love, I'm aggressive in correction. So I'm emotionally abusing my partner and she feels insecure as a result of this. So I'm sure as this continues, we're going to talk more about all of these things. But yeah, insecurity comes from different perspectives and it's not just for married couples, it's also for people that are in a relationship and are dating. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lucas, over to you.
We can't hear you. You're very faint.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please. We can hear you.
Okay, so for me, it's just one sentence. Insecurity, if it bothers your partner, then you need to look into it. So insecurity, I mean, just like Babs put in all the other categories, emotional and all of that. The way I see it is, if something bothers your partner, no matter how insignificant it seems to you, then you need to look into it and dialogue around it. So I think for me, fundamentally, that's where I'll start the insecurity conversation.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. So we all have different, perspective as regards insecurity in marriage. So let's now go straight to the conversation. Now, what causes insecurity in marriage? So whoever wants to go first, no ladies first.
Thank you. I think that we've kind of touched it, but I'm learning to see things in a different light. I'm learning to see that perspective in marriage is very important. I think in past conversations we've had, if you've not communicated the things that you're uncomfortable with, then you begin to have problems. Then you begin to have, both parties then begin to have, everybody's insecure about one thing or the other because you haven't properly communicated. So I'll give, for example, if one spouse is a very amiable, friendly person, there's no, if the boundaries are not set and that person, that seems to be cool with everyone, the other spouse may take the person to be very inconsiderate of their, forgetting the fact that this is how my spouse is. So if you're uncomfortable, you already know that, oh, this spouse, very friendly, everyone just seems to love both male and female, and you can beat your chest and say there's nothing, but you just don't like it. It just makes you feel really insecure. Then there's need for you to be able to communicate. But sometimes it may not even be in the direct power of that person to do anything about. Some people, for example, work in certain industries that makes them have to work with different kind of people, communicate with them all the time. There needs to be some understanding. That's why I say perspective. There needs to be some understanding. Okay, this is the nature of this person's job. This is what I'm not comfortable with. Okay, I'm going to communicate it. Like Bab said, it's then up to you to then decide to do something about it. Sometimes the spouse may not be able to communicate it with you. Then that's where common sense comes into play. For example, if I were a lady and maybe all my friends were guys, right? And these guys are not small guys like or daloju, like Yorubas would say.
Like the big boys.
But these were the friends, these were the only friends that this lady had in school. When the husband communicated, even how you communicate, it matters. Because for her, she's like, you are safe, like there's nothing to be worried about. But to, you know, depending on how we put it, it's like, oh, you want to isolate me from the people that have always been there for me, or you want to, you know, it then becomes an issue because nobody's understanding where, you know, and I realized that people generally tend to react to things based on the understanding we have. Marriage is one of those things that no one really tries to educate themselves on before they get into it, like understanding personalities, understanding, for example, the female cycle and why, oh, at this time of the month, the woman, not every woman behaves that way, but for some women, it's like, it is steady, it is confirmed. At this time of the month, they are, and then later they are, you know, sometimes they are moody or she just wakes up and she just doesn't want to talk. There's no issue, there's no beef, but that's just how you didn't understand that before you came into marriage. Then it becomes a problem. Or, okay, the nature of my job, for example, is very, very, I have to take security, you know, put security up there. And so there's a reason why my phones and everything has to be locked, for example. And then you go on social media and everybody's saying, no, everybody should have everybody's password, and you don't, it becomes a problem. So I think for most people that want to go into marriage, it's very important to understand this, and not just from your view. You need to see from both sides, the male aspect and the female. Let me keep quiet so that my people
thank you so
talk.
much.
Thank you.
That was very profound, actually. Thank you so much. Okay, so over to the men.
I think Lucas is still settling.
Okay.
Okay.
All
so
right. Let me jump on that. Okay. So, nice contribution, Madam. that was a good one. What I think is about insecurity in relationships or marriage by extension is at times the insecurity is not even really by the vibe or the behavior or the things being done by the partner. Sometimes it's about self. Okay, so some people are naturally insecure, right? You know yourselves, you have self-diagnosed. If you haven't done that, then maybe someone has said it before that, look, you are not secure about your body, you're not secure about your outlook, you're not about you're not secure around people, you're not secure.
Okay.
Around,
Okay.
sorry?
We can hear you. You froze at some point.
Oh, okay. So there's some people that just have that issue. So sometimes, like she mentioned earlier, it's all about it's just insecure about certain things. You need to call her and say, you know what? This is insecurity you're dealing with here. Like I should say it in the best possible way to let her know that, look, I am not saying this so that I have a blank check.
Your network is really, you're frozen, so we can't hear you. Lucas, can we take your points, please? Lucas, are you settled in? Okay, so let's continue. By the time they are settled in, we'll be able to continue with the conversation. Babs, are you back? Okay, that's a very terrible network. We can't really hear. All right. Babs, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back here.
Okay.
Well, I didn't even know I'd gone off.
Yes, you froze as if for a long time. So if you could continue your conversation, yeah, your point.
I don't even know where I stopped. What was the last thing you heard?
Okay, you were telling how the problem might be with the person, like if the person is insecure personally, and then you just tell the person that.
Let me quickly recap that. So what I was saying was, for in any relationship, whether it's just dating or
Your network is really dealing with you tonight. Okay, so probably maybe you just try and fix the network because you're going off and on and we can't really hear you. Lucas, okay, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Can I go? Babs,
yes,
Babs is still on.
Lucas, please go on. Babs, your network is really bad, so probably you switch to another service provider if that's possible.
Okay.
All right, thanks. All right, Lucas.
I was just going to pivot off what Kumbi was saying, and like I said in the short intro, I feel like the thing about insecurity is one, insecurities are heavily based on our background, on how we grew up, and the things that we essentially have come to feel inadequate about. It could be a guy who feels inadequate about his achievement. It could be a woman who feels like the mole on her face is in the wrong place. So what I've learned over the years is just like I said. Like we've said over the last 2 episodes before now, communication. So the mantra I've developed after this 10 years is, if it bothers the other person, then it is important enough. And it is important enough the first time they raise it, not the 10th time, not the 20th time. So for me, insecurity is a subset of anything you can discuss, right? So someone like the very popular myth, I don't know if it's real or not, but it's very popular about broken marriages, where someone said pressing toothpaste in the middle and pressing toothpaste at the end. I'm not sure if it's true, but I mean, we've heard sometimes life is stranger than fiction. So the truth is, it's akin to something like that. So someone, Babs was saying something about checking ladies out. If I heard him right, I'm making snide remarks. Most men do that when boys are together. You do all this stuff. But I didn't even realize that it was significantly offensive until my wife raised it a few years into the marriage, right? That you can't be saying that. And of course, I don't know what I know now back then. So I'm sure I goofed it or I said something silly. But today I wouldn't do that. Yeah, today I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't even, the first time I make those remarks, if she does not say something about it and I miss reading her reaction, then maybe I'll repeat it because I didn't know. But the first time I hear it, the first time it's discussed, then I am mandated to do something about it. It means that if I want to make those snide remarks, it has to stay in my head. You understand? And if I'm one that my eyes are always wandering up and down, maybe I'll start using the rear view mirror instead of insulting our sensibilities with roving eyes. But my point at the end of the day is, as soon as your partner raises it, then you are mandated to do something about it. So if you're joking with your partner and you say something like big head, I'm sorry I'm using silly examples, but if you say something like big head to your partner, and he happens to be someone who was heavily mocked in GSS or SSS,
about his head,
with big head, and he has not come around it, then forgive him for reacting. And if he does, don't go back to your background. Don't go back to your background where in your house insult was your SOP. The way you people corrected each other was idiot, fool, stupid. I mean, the fact that in your home, insult and everything was okay, does not mean that he should automatically understand that your background is abusive, and he should know. The fact that he has raised and said that, look, big head is a problem, then it is a problem. Edit it out of your vocabulary. Don't say it. You understand? The reason I'm using these very petty ones is, if you fix the petty ones, then we will never degenerate to look at your mate. Your mate has bought a Range Rover. You are still driving Corolla. We will never get there if we fix the very tiny, seemingly, you understand? And I know that the funny thing is, women, I know generally it's believed that women are emotionally stronger than men, and men are physically stronger. So the thing is, there are those subtle things that women deal with that men find very trivial. You understand? And I know, I mean, you go to the salon, you do 4 hours, you come back, you think the hair is nice. Your salon woman says it's nice. The mirror seems is nice. But somehow I've realized women with significant others, they don't care about anybody's compliment, even their own. Is their husband's own? Is their husband or significant other's comment that supersedes everything? So if you fail once, and I'm sure every guy has failed that test multiple times, but if you fail once, it means that now you have to peel your eyes and, did she make her hair? Don't worry whether it's fine or not. Say these words. Go and write it on your palm. Say the following words and say it with a big smile. Don't worry whether she believes it or not. Just make sure you say, but it shows whether you are being 100% truthful or not. It shows that you respect her enough, you are sensitive enough to want to make her feel good. So maybe 3 days later, you can now say, well, babe, the one you did 2 sessions earlier was better than this. But that first time, just use the template. I don't know. Yeah, so that's my position at this time.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Okay, Babs, over to you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about the network. That's the state of our country.
We understand.
Okay, yeah, it totally took me off my stride. Where was I? Okay, so like I said, sometimes it's more to do with individuals rather than what the other person is doing. Again, like Lucas said, and like I said earlier, or that Lucas further established on that, it could be roving eyes issues with you having that roving eyes, but you don't have any ulterior motives. You could, I take the piece out of people a lot. Like I make fun of people a lot. Maybe that's a bad thing, I don't know, but I make fun of people a lot. And sometimes when I'm looking at something, whether a man or a woman, it might possibly be because I find it funny. But a lady who already thinks this guy is always checking out women, she's just upset that, oh, you've started again. And then I'm like, look at the color of what she's wearing. And they're like, who gives two? This one, that one. You're looking at that. So sometimes it has to do with individuals. So I jotted some things down about signs of insecurity. Hopefully it will help some people. The first thing I talked about earlier was jealousy. Jealousy is good. If it's too much, then it becomes a problem. Jealousy just feels that you want the person to yourself, you don't want to share, blah, 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 blah. That's fine. When it starts to become negative and toxic, then that is really bad. It's actually showing that you're actually not secure in your relationship. Second thing is attention seeking. There's a way you want the attention of your partner, which is fine. I mean, but when it gets to the point where everything has to be, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't see my hair, you didn't see my leg, did you not see, baby, did not see I painted the car, you couldn't even ask how my day was. And like Lucas said as well, men even show a higher dose of insecurity. Like I know most men cannot even hack half of what the women would take in relationship. Your wife or your girlfriend can see you talking to a lady and then just takes her eyes off her, like, oh yeah, they're probably just maybe colleagues or something. Flip side, the man will flip. There's no show of respect for me. This one, that one, that one. You saw me standing there, you were still laughing. What was funny? What joke was he telling you? So I know that I've seen men behave very funny when the table changes. So attention seeking is actually another way that you can detect if there's a little bit of insecurity going on with one of the partner. Another thing is constant argument. So argument is actually said in a negative manner. So you can have a debate with your partner. So I call it debate because obviously we're disagreeing to agree. So you're putting forward your position, I'm putting forward my position, and then we agree to disagree or disagree to agree, whichever one works, all right? But arguments is when constantly there's moaning over this, there's complaining about the other thing, everything is a problem, everything both of you want to drag. So it is a show of something deeper within that has to be dealt with, actually. Another thing is worry. If everywhere you are, you're always worrying, hey, what's this madam up to now? Eh? This guy has not picked my call. Thinking, what is he up to? Eh? He will not pick call. I can hear someone in the background. Who there's a guy speaking in the background. Who is that? Eh? Yeah. Yeah. Every time I see the picture in your office, there's this guy or there's this girl you're always beside and all of that. You just start to worry, you overthink things, and you just start to see things that are actually not there. It is insecurity. There's no two ways to say it. I also noted the causes of insecurity. Some people have suffered a lot of rejection in life. Let's be honest with ourselves. They've been damaged from wherever they're coming from. There's a lot of rejection. I mean, the love was thrown in their face, maybe by their parents, or maybe they grew up in a house where the parents never said, I love you, I miss you. There's no hug or kiss or anything. Everything is regimented. Everything is just the way it is. So they suffer too much rejection in life and they are damaged. Some people don't realize how damaged they are. I posted something, I think it was last week, that some people don't know how damaged they are until you try to love them. Even you don't know how damaged they are. You try to love them and then you just see that, oh, this person is unlovable, man. For everything you do, it's a problem. Like, I mean, let me just show up at your office with lunch and like, what are you doing here? You didn't even tell me you were coming. Are you sneaking up on me? Are you trying to, it's everything problem, drag. These guys are survivors. They're not really survivors, but they're really suffering from this PTSD. Let's use, for lack of a better word, it's just trauma that they suffered in the past. Secondly, the lack of confidence. So some people just don't have this confidence. They aren't confident enough because we talk about this a lot, that when you're raising kids and your child is trying to put a point across, and the first thing you say is, shut up. Or, these kids then grow up to be thinking anything they say or anything they want to say cannot be correct. Anything, they're not even okay to express themselves. They're so afraid to speak out because it's always, shut up, keep quiet. When adults are talking, you don't talk. They grow up to be this kind of. Some people are just naturally not confident. Some of them are actually brilliant minds. They write. I've seen somebody that if you read what he writes, you will not believe that this same guy cannot face anybody to say anything. So he lacks self-confidence. Another root cause of this is feeling of inadequacy, or you feel undeserving. Some people just feel that I shouldn't really be here. Some people think the job they have at the moment is not something they deserve. They just don't feel very comfortable in their own skin. They just feel that they're not doing enough at everything. And I've also seen idiots, complete idiots. They're so confident. They say rubbish with a lot of confidence. And then you're wondering, how are you talking this rubbish with so much confidence? And people tend to even believe them because of the way they deliver these things. But the people that really have things to say, some of them are not okay saying these things because they're totally not confident. Another thing I put down was how to try and block insecurity in your relationship.
Okay,
marriage.
we're going to come to that. We are coming to
We'll
that.
come to that. Okay, sorry, I'm just a bit ahead of it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Babs. That's very profound. Thank you so much. So it takes me to the next question. Yeah. Now, attraction to the third party outside marriage. I'll take that again. Attraction to a third party outside marriage. Is it normal? What could be the cause, and how can you handle it?
I think the men should go first.
Okay, the men, over to you.
Lagos man, oh yeah.
Okay, you are setting us up.
I'm not setting you up. We're talking about insecurity in marriage. So, attraction to a third party in marriage, is it normal? What could be the cause, and how can you handle it? So, please answer. And I'm sure I'm speaking for everybody that's going to be watching this broadcast and everybody that is watching live. I'd like to say hello, welcome. This is Swagger's Lifestyle. So please answer the question.
I think the first thing is we should demystify this template of marriage as a prison sentence. I think that's the first thing.
Marriage as a what?
As a sentence, like a prison sentence. Like I think prison is too hard. But what I mean is, we should not say because people are married, there's a condemnation to some kind of creed or something. I think what I'm trying to say is this: just because we've introduced marriage doesn't mean that your natural instincts are going to die. Do you understand? So for people that are religious inclined, for people that have some religion, then they say, God created marriage. So for those people, marriage is not a human thing. But I'm not 100% on that. I feel like man created marriage to make sense of man's society. And it differentiates us from animals. And the reason why I'm saying this, I'm taking this academic position. I mean, if you look at the evolution of societies, it made sense that unions were defined. It makes sense that in a society that is growing, Funke is going to be with Babatunde. Let us all agree that that is what it's going to be. Do you understand? Hence, you need to define marriage and put it around that so that it's not like we're all just wild. People cannot just be sleeping with each other or doing whatever. You understand? That makes more sense to me, and I can evolve from there. Now, having said that, it's from that angle that I can say that just because you are married as a woman or as a man does not stop you from having your natural instinct or finding other people attractive, even sexually attractive. It is how you build discipline, right? It is how you build discipline that then the attraction does not stop, it just doesn't manifest. You understand? It's not like you're not still going to see a more beautiful woman than your wife. Okay, so I've had funny conversations with a lot of younger colleagues where we say, okay, what are the most attractive things about the opposite sex? You know, just have this conversation, people come with relation. I'm like, some people is body, some people is intellect, some people is the face, you know, whatever works for anybody. So if I'm married to Kumbi and it's Kumbi's height that got me in the first place, I'm going to find a taller woman. You understand? And does that mean that it would not trigger? Does that mean it will not register that, oh, since height is my thing, that woman is attractive? It does. But then I have a contract with Kumbi and I'm in love with Kumbi. So that contract precludes my attraction. So yeah, people are going to be attracted to other people. And I think that is going to happen for the length of time it takes the partner to grow into their own. Because it's a relationship, it
it has a growth process. So in the beginning, it might be difficult in year one. And like I always say, first trimester, second trimester, third trimester of marriage, the first 10 years. In the first 3 years, the man might really struggle, the woman might really struggle. But if you remain committed, it cannot be as difficult in the second trimester. And by the third trimester, if you have kids early, you're obviously distracted by bills, raising kids. So it's not like you're always going to find people if you're an intellect person, you're going to listen to a very brilliant woman speak, and you're going to be like, whoa, okay, if this was 7 years ago, this might have been a real contention for my choice of choosing Kumbi. So I feel like it's normal, but what we should all remember is we signed a contract. This marriage thing is a contract to someone, to hold them to a certain degree of responsibility, fidelity, XYZ, within the context of whatever we're from. So I think attraction is a natural thing. It is how we deal with it. I know some guys that their own is bad. They are particularly very loose, and their accountability partner is their wife. So once they just see the big things outside, the way they escape is they just call their wife and say, give her the whole gist. And it has helped some people. We said it here a couple of times. No marriage there's no template for any marriage. It's how it works for you that works for you. So I feel like once you're committed to it, you are going to be attracted to people, but it's the commitment to discipline, and above that, respect to your significant other that can help you too. But that there will not be attraction is a big lie. I'm pretty sure pastors are even suffering, so it's a big lie.
Thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you. Who's going next? Babs, please go ahead.
Okay, so attraction to a third party outside marriage relationship. Of course, absolutely. The fact that you're married to somebody or you're dating somebody doesn't mean that you stop being a human being, or it doesn't mean you stop appreciating good things, or it means that your eyes and your sensibilities don't work anymore, or you're totally just become an alien and a zombie that's being just controlled by other stuff. As a matter of fact, I think being attracted to the third party is actually healthy, because sometimes these things that attract you in the third party, you can actually apply them in your relationship and be like, babe, you see that dress you wore yesterday? I saw one person that wore it like this. Why do you want to wear that? Do you want to wear your hair down this way? And things like that. And like Lucas said, it is what you do about this attraction that matters, right? Okay, so I am attracted to you. What am I going to do about it? Nothing, because I am not supposed to do anything about it. I'm committed to be with someone else, and I'm going to be with someone else. I'm dedicated to someone else. I'm going to be there. So you can even talk about it with your partner that, there's this very hot chick in my office, man. Damn, she looks good. Or there's this bobo in my office, it looks good. And again, sometimes when you talk about these things, it discourages you because you're talked about them. You've put yourself out in the open. You have casted yourself. Let's use that word. All right. So it makes you like, I'm not going to do anything about it again. But like I said, you're always going to find, if you're someone that you're swayed by looks, like there's a popular saying in Nigeria, like better things are the finish for market, either in product or in human beings. So you're going to see looks, you're going to see finer person. In shape, every day you see people with badass shape and all of that. Intellectually, you're sapiosexual, you're always going to meet those people that when they speak, you're like, wow, where have you been? But if you're going to do that, or you're going to act on every one of them, we're all going to end up with like 1 million relationships before our time is done on earth. I mean, let's assume that maybe I work meeting people every day. Imagine the number of intellectuals I'm going to meet every day. And I'm doing something about each one of them every day. In a week, I might end up with like maybe 10 girlfriends. In a month, that's 40. So in a year, 40 times 12, So meeting people, seeing people that you're attracted to, is just normal. What are you going to do about it? What is your decision about it? How committed are you to your relationship? So I think it's perfectly healthy, like I said earlier. You can see people you're attracted to. You can apply that to your relationship. If it's dressing, if it's intellect, there are topics you like to talk about, you can try and get your partner to, how come you don't like football? Football is really nice. So that, whatever it is you're chasing in that other person outside, you can actually bring it home. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Kumbi, over to you.
The men have said a lot. Oh God, you. Yeah.
They're on fire.
They've already said everything. So what do I want to say?
Support the law.
Okay, so first of all, I know that we need to first of all agree that human needs are insatiable. Whatever was key or top on our list then before we got married changes with time. I always tell people that when you set a goal or you have a vision or something, it's not fixed. It's not one thing. It has the ability to, it's allowed to change. Yes. And so as we grow and as we evolve, as we become into our own, more or less, whatever was very key to us may have changed. Our taste may have, and if we're not able to communicate it with our spouse, like Babs, recommended that, oh, you like something in this other woman, okay, suggest it, of course, with wisdom, knowing who you are talking to. You cannot come and say, I saw one woman out there.
Then I say, so you have been looking at women.
Because you'll not be like, am I not good enough? Is it because I've had 2 children and then you start getting all that attitude? There's this saying that comparison is a thief of joy. I think it's always good to do an appraisal, sometimes have a discussion with yourself, as in you yourself. What was it you saw in this person that you liked? It's always good to remind yourself about that, because let's be realistic, we are getting older. The slim, for those that knew me, I was like this one time. At another time, they started calling me V-Boots. Please don't laugh to the men. But, so we have evolved. We are evolving. Things are changing. So, but what I know about if you do not, let's not lie. Anybody that comes and says that they see someone else that maybe reminds them of their spouse or those qualities they saw or they liked. Let's not lie. If you are not attracted to the person, you're probably a zombie. Like it's not like attracted to the person, but you think your maybe, I don't know, heart or something just does a double take that. Wow. Like for me now, maybe tall men, because everybody is talking, they are doing like this, they are not. Me, tall men, my husband is very tall. I knew from day one, I cannot marry someone that is shorter than me. I will not respect you. I will knock you on me. So you will see, if I see a tall man, I'll definitely look and say, nice tall man. That doesn't mean I'm considering. But there's this saying also that says that where your energy goes, where your attention goes, your energy flows. If you take enough time, anybody, even the holiest of people, take enough time and dwell on this thing that this other person, this third party has, there's no how you develop feelings. So you have to do you have to remind yourself, let's not come and lie. I mean, we are all good people, good men and women of society. We should not be lying. Yes, you see someone and you feel like Lucas said, intellect. Some men are just attracted to women who are intellectuals, can have and hold a conversation and all of that. And maybe when they were liking their wife, they wanted a woman that is gentle,
has body,
doesn't talk. All of a sudden, levels have changed. It's now the women that are talking that know how to.
The slave one is no longer slaying. It's brain they need.
They will now
to move the business to the next level.
So I think we should just always remind ourselves. We have to always remind ourselves that there was a reason for why, and there's no perfect individual. I think that one is very important for everybody to hear this as many times as possible. You that are liking third party, that are thinking that your wife is good. We hang you on hanger. Are you that good? Let's look at it. When you are doing your own, you have to be checking. Check me self, I still there. Check this woman is still doing my own, jam my dodo, like she used to jam my dodo, if you understand that thing.
Wow, is she eating my work?
Yes, so I just think that, yes, we would see someone and admire someone. I think it's when you then put thought to it and you're dwelling on it and you're, that then there becomes a problem. I always tell people that if you don't like something, you can fix it. You can fix, there's nothing about us that is permanent. There's nothing really. You can change you want abs, you don't want a big stomach anymore, you want this, because you see, most of the men that are always complaining that the wife something, most of the times, I'm very sorry, with all due respect to all the men here and the men that I love and respect, most of the men that have one complaint or the other, they are not sweet, baby. Let's check.
Excuse me.
And I mean that,
I take offense.
No, like I said,
Yeah, I said with all due respect. So let her, let her say her point.
With all due respect, they keep the disrespect.
Yeah, I refuse the disrespect with all due respect.
That is it. There's no, so that's it. When you're
because
trying
it is true. All those men that are giving it, you look at them. They should be able to put them on the scale.
It's not that we don't have statistics, but let me say statistics have shown that those men, you cannot do a double take when it comes to those men. So I just think that when we all understand that we're not perfect, we're all getting older. If you like something, you would like your wife to do something, you have to apply wisdom in how you approach the topic and be willing to help and support her. It's not saying go and do this. And then, because you have, okay, let me give an example. You have a lot of women programs and conferences, whether in church or out of church, that are teaching women and trying to help women become better versions of themselves, become better wives, better mothers, become more sexy and all of that. And they learn from those platforms and then they go and implement some of these things. Like you said, when she goes to make her hair and she comes back and she doesn't get I think then, I don't know, but me, I just personally think that as a woman or as a man, you need to come to love yourself and seek validation from no one but yourself. Are you happy with you? Because when you are happy with you, it begins to show, you begin to have that self-esteem, you're more confident and all of that. That's why I remember back in the days when my husband said something funny, I'll be like, you saw it when you were talking to me. You liked it. I won't say the thing, it's a physical whatever, but he will make fun of me or say, see your uncle, maybe someone that has that same physical quality. I'm like, Jojo, when you saw me, you liked it. When you came to meet me, you didn't have a problem with it. It cannot be a problem now. So I think you just have to, and we would laugh over it. And I think you just need to come into your own and accept and, love yourself, because I feel when you love yourself, it will show in everything that you do. No matter what anybody says to you, you won't really be moved by, I just feel that we should all just try and learn to love ourselves, appreciate ourselves first. And it's not the physical attributes, because we are aging. Some people are still going to party. Some people are going to use wheelchair at some point. Do you understand? Some people are going to need a walker. I think we should just learn to love ourselves. When we love ourselves, it's easier for us to express that to the other person. You should ask yourself, you see people, we all understand that we didn't marry the physical attributes, or we're not going to marry. That's for those that are not married. They're not going to marry. Of course, you should be physically attracted to the person. You should see the person and you should be like, wow, I'm blessed. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought. You should remind yourself of what you saw in that person. And you should look at it that you are, how do they say it? Character is very important. That person you are physically attracted to may not have the character. Yes, they may hold a conversation, be intelligent. What about their character? We are all very good actors, human beings. We can act the part if we know that this is what the person likes. That's why you hear this person took this person, and you hear they snatch Ogba, and they've turned husbands to snatchable things and handbags and things that you can collect. Do you understand? People are good actors. And if anybody wants, even if the other spouse has seen the third party and is not attracted to the person, if the person knows that they can get you, they can act it so well.
To snatch you.
So I just think that we should just learn to love ourselves. When we love ourselves enough, we're able to also express it to the other party.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I would like to go straight into the comments section. So we have lots of comments. I would like to say welcome to everyone that is online today. And if today is actually the first time that you are joining our live broadcast, I would like to say welcome. I would like to say compliments of the season. And I'd like to tell you to please subscribe to this channel because we have amazing content that would definitely interest you. So let's take some comments and then we'll continue with the conversation. So we have Oluwaseyi Grace saying communication is key in marriage. That's very true. We have Babatunde Popola saying, is it normal to feel insecure in marriage? Okay, this is a question. Is it normal to feel insecure in marriage, and how can it be okay? Okay, all right. So is it normal to feel insecure in marriage, and how can you overcome it, especially in a marriage that is experiencing TTC? So TTC is trying to conceive. So let's take the question. Okay, so or let's take everybody's comments and then go back to the question. So we have Tommy Oduroye saying, hi, good evening. Hello, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining. We have Chidima Ibe saying, seeking validation from others is exhausting. That's very true. And I think that is why Kumbe said, love yourself. When you love yourself, you don't need to seek validation from anybody, because you are good, you are happy, you know, you enjoy yourself, you enjoy your company, you know that you are enough. So every small thing, if you're going to see, even the spouse said, oh man, is the, you know, it's very exhausting. So that's very true. So we have Babatunde Popola saying, if for instance you grew up in a polygamous setting or a Agbole setting where you mingle a lot and grew up in the midst of many people and many friends, and you have a spouse whose background is directly opposite, and the spouse is now feeling insecure seeing the partner mingling with a lot of old friends, is that insecurity? If yes, how do you handle such? So that is another question. So we have Amplify the Gospel saying, Baba Alao. Okay, they are hailing Babs. We have Olakweju waving. Hi, thank you for tuning in. And then we have Kale Akin saying, if you genuinely put each other's happiness first, it helps through a lot of these things. Emphasize, be quick to listen, and slow to speak. Thank you so much for that profound contribution. And thank you also for tuning in. So let us take Babatunde's question. So I will take the first question. He said, is it normal to feel insecure in marriage? And how can you overcome it, especially in a marriage that is experiencing TTC? All right, over to you.
Is it normal to feel insecure
in marriage?
In marriage. It's not, I don't think it's normal. I don't think it's normal. I think that happens a lot in a marriage where they haven't really understood themselves. And we know that people get married for various reasons. Some were in a relationship before they got married. Some met, got pregnant and got married. And they didn't have that time to court themselves. I think you have insecurity in some marriages. Some may have known themselves. I'm sorry, I want to correct myself. It happens to any kind of marriage, whether they knew themselves before. But one thing that I think needs to be established is that you cannot know yourselves. I'm trying to look for the English completely. You cannot know yourselves fully. There's a knowing that takes place. It's not fixed. It changes because marriage is in seasons. Like Bab said, some people are dating, about to get married. Some people are newly married. Some people have been married for a while. And so they're in various seasons. They have various priorities. And if they are not on the same page, understanding what season they're in, for example, then insecurity sets in. I'll give a typical example. I'm trying to look there's a phrase for it when spouses have to live separately for a while. Maybe they're trying to relocate, and so one spouse has to go ahead and put some things in place, and then the other spouse joins. Sometimes you have insecurity in those cases, but I think there needs to be a clear understanding and conversation between both parties on what season they're in. If the wife, for example, is the one with the children in another country, most of the time she may be the one that's insecure, trying to, who is this, where are you, what are you doing, whose voice did I hear, blah blah blah, what time did you get home, and all of that. And it happens also where the wife has to go ahead and leave the children with the husband. It also happens where the husband is trying to know, where were you? I called you, you didn't pick up. I called you, you didn't return my call on time, and all of that. There's a lot of insecurity that happens like that because they've not come to understand the season that they're in. I feel that couples need to talk, have those conversations about the expectations and the likely occurrences that may happen. So, for example, you are in various time zones. Your own morning is still someone's kidney, and you call and the person doesn't pick. I think it's a lack of understanding, and it's really unfair to then put blame on that person for not giving you attention and all of that, because you've not come to understand, or the nature of the person's job. For example, maybe you saw a medical doctor and you chose to get married to that person, and the person is in a country where the doctors have to work like 2-3 shifts. Not understanding the nature of maybe the job the person is doing, the season of your life can bring insecurity. Trying to conceive, I'm not sure I can really speak so much on that. I've been in that position before, and yes, overcoming it when you are in marriage, because I'm looking at the question where it says, how can it be overcome, especially in a marriage that is experiencing TTC? Have you had the conversation? Have you spoken about it? Are you, because I realize that when you are trying to conceive, you begin to read meaning into everything. The things that you didn't play at that really didn't bug you before, then begin to bug you. If the man comes later than he used to come, for example, you may begin to have thoughts that, oh, is this or is that, It's a sensitive season. And I feel that for such a person, you need to get more information, and you need to have a safe avenue for where you can pour out how you feel. Because let's not forget, hormones are in play here. There's something that you are desiring, and usually it's weightier on the woman's side. So she would usually in that situation be the person that's more sensitive, extremely sensitive to everything. And for the spouse has to be on. Yeah.
Can I jump in real quick for this? If you don't mind.
No, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
I've never, I wouldn't say it's a first class experience for me about this TTC. But again, if this union was built on the right foundation of communication and commitment to growth, plus common creed, like we both believe in the same God, for instance. This TTC period, I think that one, in our society, a lot of slack should be cut to the woman for all of her irrational behavior. It could be frustrating, it could be annoying, it could be whatever. But as a man who's interested and building a life with a woman who's in a marriage that is struggling to conceive, you have to cut her 1,000% slack. If you usually come home at 7 and you come home at 7:05, if she starts to scream, I'll just hug her. I'll just do that. So I feel like it will take, I mean, I'm hoping the hug will work. So tomorrow, maybe I'll kiss her. Next tomorrow, I'll just bring. But my point is, in that time where she's yet to, especially for women who think that childbearing is a goal, like it's some holy grail. So
it's a societal thing, or it's not for the women.
No, I said
It's
especially
societal.
for women. No, forget. That's why I'm choosing my words carefully. There are women who don't want to have kids, and even though they struggle in this society, in recent times, I'm hearing people say it more. I don't want to have kids. There's nothing my mom is going to do. So if that kind of person has, you said?
More with the Gen Z.
Yeah, well, so I kind of have a job that I deal with a lot of this 1997 and downwards children, right? So yeah, so they are coming out and saying this thing. But the truth is they're also giving the millennials and the early millennials the courage to also say, yes, I'm 43, I don't have kids. And to be honest with you, I never really wanted it. I thought about it once or twice, but I never really wanted it. So I think for that, cut them a lot of slack. There was something I missed earlier about the third party. I hope I get a chance to speak to that later. I wanted to just chip this into what Kumbi was saying. I feel like the guy in this society where it is lopsided, not having a child is lopsided on the woman, even though the man has erectile dysfunction, everybody thinks it's the woman that has a problem. I think a lot of slack should be cut. I wanted to add that to our point.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Lucas. But if I may say something, I think that we're in that era where a lot of people do not believe in having children, and it's okay. It's their decision, it's their life. But I think that it's unfair to the person, you're married to not have that conversation about what do we want. It still boils down to the same thing of getting married to someone and not having the same values.
I think we might have missed something here. I think what I was speaking to was insecurities around not having children. So
that's what he was speaking to.
Yeah, what I was speaking to was, if she does have insecurities, it means she wants children.
Yes.
So me as her partner, I'm going to cut her 1,000% slack while she's being irrational all through that period. And hopefully, like we've talked about in the previous episode, if she's committed to growth, it just means that, okay, look, January, you had 1,000 irrational behavior. Can I have 999 in February? Can I have 998 in March? She too has to commit to, hey, this guy is here, he's not going anywhere. It might be difficult to convince her, but I'll also just beg her that, look, babe, come on. I can't take all this 1,000 all the time. Can we meet in the middle some of the time? Can I also be allowed to be unreasonable sometimes? Can you give me 1 out of 7 days? You take 6. Do you get? So, and that's where communication comes in. So, totally. That's what I was speaking to. It's not really the new movement.
Yeah, we get that. We understand that, aspect. Okay, so Babs, let's take your perspective on this and then move on because we have other questions. So let's move up with the conversation.
All right. Okay. So the insecurity in marriages, especially for people that are trying to conceive, right?
Yes.
Is it normal to be insecure in marriages? 150% normal. There'll be times where you will question yourself in marriages, in relationship. There'll be times you question yourself. You'll be insecure about certain things. There'll be times where the gentleman is not coming home early. There'll be times where he's not eating the food. There'll be times where he's not up to having sex. There'll be times where the lady is just snappy. There'll be times where she's just not, whatever you say is no more funny. And she's dealing with stuff on her own. And, some things you might not realize. What you should do at this point where you think things are not really, or you're feeling insecure about certain things, about the phone calls, about the phone pressing, about whispering on phone and things, is to talk about it. you used to come home on so days. In my house, they know the days I come late. They know the days, I hang out or I'm out there or something. So if something is out of character for both partners, the other one should call the other one, babe. You usually make food for me weekends, and then suddenly I just noticed that you're no more doing that, you know? Or you used to send me lunch. What's up? What changed? Is there anything? Rather than thinking someone else is taking his or her attention, rather than thinking he no longer loves me or she no longer loves me, rather than thinking, we don't have to go on negative all the time. Once you notice there's a change in pattern or character, you need to call the attention of the person that, we used to do this thing 3 times a week. Suddenly, it's now one time in 2 months. Alpha, am I no longer attractive? Or is there a problem? Is there something you want me to do extra? Let's talk about this thing. Because these are things that will eventually degenerate to insecure feelings, feeling of inadequacy in either way. So yeah, feeling insecure in marriages for me, is 150% normal. It will happen at any stage. Kumbi said something earlier that is it because I have 3 children or something. It sounds funny, but it will just come to your mind like a flat, like, who is this madam talking to like this? Or this guy is always on phone. Who is he talking to pressing phone at 10 p.m. at night? Right? So rather than, allowing it to fester, that's the word, allowing it to fester in your head and then process it, quickly talk about it. So that, and then for people that are trying to conceive, the pressure is on the woman because of the culture, because of sometimes the religion, because of sometimes the society we live in, and all of that. So first thing first, I've always said it, when we're trying to conceive, it's two people trying to conceive. In Africa, the case that the woman is always at the hospital trying to check her cycle, trying to do this. The man doesn't even bother, and nobody's asking him. Maybe the guy is shooting blank, like maybe they're just firing blank or nothing they come out for there. So it's always the woman trying to check the womb, trying to check the cycle, trying to check the egg, trying to check this and that. I think is massively unfair. So we should normalize the fact that when we're trying to have a baby, both sides should be checked adequately for everything to ensure that. And the aim of the check isn't for blame purposes. That is very important as well. So me and you go to the hospital and have a check. It's not for you to say, okay, so it is you all along. It is to find a solution to it. It could be you, it could be both of us actually. It could even be the fact that you're doing it at the wrong time. I read something somewhere a while ago about people looking for babies, and more than 3/4 of people that are looking for babies think that anytime you do it like this, nothing. They don't know that there's actually like maybe a 3-4 days window that between that period. So it's possible that every time ovulation cycle is going on, you're either in a meeting, you're too tired, that's when you refuse, you're not going to do, that's when you're out of town or something. And then somehow you've been having sex or trying to conceive at the wrong time and then you never got pregnant. And there's nothing wrong. Everything is just fine. So going to the hospital together and having this test will make sure you have an informed perspective about how this is done and all of that. So knowing the kind of society we live in and all of that, and trying to conceive, the husband must make sure that the level playing field is balanced. We do tests, both of us do tests, not for you to blame you or for me to blame you. We know where the problem is coming from, so we can resolve the problem. Secondly, because again, the woman is always at the receiving end, the man must be ready to stand tall. You must be ready to stand tall. Your wife needs to know that you are supporting her, you are protecting her, you're totally behind her, and nobody can speak to her or drag her somewhere. And then the issue of, oh, I don't want to have a baby. Of course, that conversation has been had earlier, before marriage. And so, as soon as you decide I'm going to marry this person, you need to talk about, you want babies? All right, how many babies would you be looking at? Let's talk about it, because this is an important thing. It will be wicked, like Kundi said earlier, for anybody to wait until we plan and do marriage and I propose to you, and then when we be like, shoot, did I tell you I really don't want to have babies? You can't say that. It's me that will say, oh yeah, I know a divorce lawyer. How can you say that? That's wicked. So you need to speak about this thing, about aspiration, the future. What would you like to do? I like to retire back to Ibadan when I'm so age. Oh, I need to jump at some point. Oh, I don't like Lagos. I'm going to be moving to. These are things that should be talked about, not just waiting for it to degenerate to something more sinister. Then before you start running around and saying. So for me, insecurity is an ongoing thing. It's going to come at some point or the other. Then trying to conceive, it has to be all for one for all. It is not. Don't let anybody isolate your wife. If you have such problem, you're together in this matter, in the challenge. Once you decide you're going to marry somebody, there are other challenges that will come. It could be baby, it could be upbringing of the children, it could be this, it could be that. The child can come with a disability. Are you going to say, oh, it's your fault that this child has Down syndrome or cerebral palsy? It is you, right? So we need to have a different mindset about marriages as well if we want to go into it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so very much for that. That's very profound. So the next question is, if, for instance, you grow up in a polygamous setting or agbole setting, where you mingle with a lot of people and grow up in the midst of many people and many friends, and you have a spouse whose background is directly opposite, and the spouse is not feeling insecure, seeing the partner mingling with a lot of old friends, is that insecurity? If yes, how do you handle such? All right, can we quickly jump on that?
If I may,
yes, please.
Again, it speaks to communication and commitment to grow. I think one of the mistakes I probably made was I dated my wife as, I wouldn't call it a mistake. I think it's just natural way things flow. I dated my wife for her person, right? For her person. But the thing about marriage is you quickly understand in marriage, it's one of the struggles in the first trimester, that in marriage, it's not just her, it's a community, especially in this climate. And you have to deal with that community because you cannot alienate her from what she's always known or whatever. So for me, this question is about, first of all, maturity. The person who's coming from a nuclear config to a community config should understand that there must be something about someone who grew up in Agbole or polygamous home. You might not understand it, but you should expect that there will be some difference, and you should commit to learning those differences. And if the other person coming from that zone is sensitive enough, that person too should be open to, hey, babe, when you were dating, you'll have heard a lot of stories of my stepbrother, my this, when we're doing, and all those should add up, right? So I'm not very sure how damaging that would be, because it's akin to an introvert and an extrovert where there is no background, right? So the person who's used to a small gathering should be open to the fact that this is her background. You can't use a fiat law to extricate her from that background. You have to understand the background, because that background has its strengths, and you shouldn't focus on the weaknesses as it is. You should look at the strengths. Now, there's a difference now between, I'm looking at a situation where there might be a conflict when, if my wife comes from a community background, she wants to attend everybody's wedding. All her mother's children, all her stepmothers, if there are 4, she wants to attend, there are 24 in the house, and she wants to attend 23 weddings. No, now, babe, you can't be close to 23 people. And then those ones now, they have spouses, and they are doing something, and 23 can quickly lead to 150, which means that you want to attend that means there's no Saturday that is free during the year. Can you guys still hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You understand? So it's when we get to the extreme that we have a problem. So daddy has I'm the one from the polygamous community background. Daddy has an event. Daddy is important. My mom has an event. That's important. Of the 3 wives,
the one that I've told you I'm closest to has an event. That's fine. But there will be one of them that I don't like so much. So you are not going to come and say, Kumbi 4, which is the 412. Sorry, Kumbi. Kumbi 4 has an event and you must go. No. If I know that Kumbi 4 is your least favorite of the stepmothers, then it is, you know what, babe? Kumbi 4 has an event. I really don't want to go. Or you know how this family is. If I don't go, then my mom starts hearing this, blah, blah, blah. So you know what we do? Just go quietly. We're there for 10, 15 minutes. Let them just see my face. Then I'm out. That's a different matter. That's communication. That's you acknowledging that, look, it's inconvenient for you, but this is my case. I don't know if you get. So I feel like it's maturity on both parts and honest communication on both parts. Committed to, I mean, if you're committed to a relationship, then you're committed to growth anyway. So I don't see the conflict if the communication is clear. It is when assumptions and that's when there will be some trouble, my opinion.
Thank you very much. Do we have an addition to that, or we should continue with our conversation?
Okay, so I think the question was like, how do you handle such? So I have a similar story. Something similar happened to someone. So the guy is not from Agbole per se, but the parents and the parents' siblings all grew up in an Agbole. So everybody is always into everybody's business. Whereas the babe was from a family where it was just father, mother, children. They didn't want to have anything to do with family, nobody. And this stemmed from issues from their past, maybe someone not being treated well, and they just go and just say, you know what, when I have my own family, it's just me and my family. So the babe did not understand why do you know so many people, and such that it was so bad that they didn't even, in the babe's family, didn't even acknowledge birthdays. They don't count it as anything to call each other, they just don't. So I think one of the things the guy did was invite her to all the family functions, at least know this person, so that when I'm saying so and so is doing birthday, it's not like, who is this one again? You didn't tell me about this person before, because she was so guarded that she didn't know her cousins. Like, they didn't, and there are these stories that the parents went on saying about this person, I trained this person, and this person did not even come back to say thank you, I appreciate. So they're very guarded about family, and it's understandable that she would behave that way. So what the guy did was, take her to as many events, introduce her to everybody. Okay, this is my favorite cousin I used to tell you about, or this is my uncle, blah, blah, blah. It's all, intimate her into all the stories. Like Lucas said, it's not every event that they should go to. So what he would do was, the events that were priority, they would go together. And the events that went, it got to a state that because he was able to do that and introduce her, in situations where he wasn't around to attend those events, she then started going to events. You understand? But he did rub it on her. So I think while they were dating, he, invited her to all those family functions that, see, me, I'm from a large family. Everything we do it together. If someone gave birth, we are all going to show up. If someone is doing their birthday, we are all going to show up. Burial gone, we all show up. We dash up. That's how we do. So he was able to do that, and then she came into that, space where she was now able to even take up the mantle and, standing for him at those events that he couldn't go for. So I don't know if that is able to help you in any way to deal with
Thank you so much for that. That's actually helpful. So we have Ibilola Uwolabi. Thank you for tuning in. So the person is saying, both parties need to work together to make the marriage work. What does one do when it's only one party that has been working to keep the marriage together? That's another question. That's a deep question.
It's a deep question.
Yeah, so I think at that point, maybe it's the other person might not be interested in the marriage any longer. Or maybe from the foundation, there was already a problem. From the foundation, the person was just trying to make it work so that I end up marrying this person. So it might be that there was a red flag from the get-go, that the person just said, you know what, I want to marry this person, and that's it. And then when they got married, they started saying, and sometimes it might be that probably even in the marriage, the person is so tired and say, look, what, I'm not doing this. And just like as it comes, we just take it. So question over to you. Yeah,
Can you hear me? So,
Yes, please.
the thing is, it's always interesting when people say, I'm the one working for the marriage. Right? There are passive partners and there are active partners. Some people will keep quiet for 20 years and all the work they are doing in that marriage is in their head. You understand? They will not tell you about the work they are doing in that marriage, but they will not sign a divorce letter. What are you going to do about a passive partner? So the active partner is the one that fights, is the one that makes mistakes, is the one that is quoted, is the one jumping all over the place, is the one reporting to everybody. And the passive partner is just like, can't you just be patient? This is work in progress. The passive partners sound very wise because there's not much to quote about passive partners. They just know that I have signed the dotted line, I'm not going anywhere. Somehow it will work. Then the active partner, I'm sure the person that has the question is an active partner. And it is actually a hugely frustrating situation for the active partner because the passive partner does not have the words and does not have the ginger. You just know that they are not going anywhere. Do you understand? So every time someone says, I'm the one actively working for the marriage, the question I usually ask is, how do you discount a partner that will never sign divorce? Do you understand? They probably don't have an idea how it's going to work. They just know that if I wake up tomorrow, God is going to do something. You can't discount that kind of faith. You get? So what I always ask is, okay, so fine. You feel like you're doing a lot, you feel like you're putting in a lot. It's probably because your language is more extrovert, your language is more physical and all of that. But it also takes us to a place of maturity where, and this is the part of marriages where I absolutely recommend third party. I'm not one that says, don't take your master outside your marriage.
Yes.
I am totally for third parties. And this is what I mean by third parties. You will make some mistakes, but do not discount the fact that one partner or the other needs a safe place to go and blow up and vent and rant and say things that they don't want to be quoted. Everybody needs that safe place. And it's not everybody that can go to the beach and scream at the water. Some people need to talk to another human being. Now, a lot of us make the mistake of going to talk to pastors who then use it and add it to their sermon and use it to counsel somebody else with your initials. Before you know it, a very smart person will put 2 and 2 together and say, A1 and L1. It's them. It's them. They will change the Range Rover to Nissan Pathfinder. We know who you are talking to. Do you understand? But I'm totally for a third party that you know, no matter what I say in this space, is not living. That's where you can use all the swear words, call your partner all sorts of everything. Just a place to just decongest. It's not, I don't have a template to tell you this is where a third party, this is the template to find a third party.
Yeah, I have template.
It might be a therapist.
Thank you. No, so that's the thing. The funny thing about our climb and therapist is how many therapists are not of a creed? How many are actually professional that don't tie it to Mohammed or Jesus or Rumila? You understand?
On TVC.
Yeah. So my point at the end of the day is, look, when you say you are the one fighting for the marriage, are you sure you're fighting for the marriage or you're fighting for what you consider your sanity? And your sanity is defined by your maturity stage, your outlook on life. So many things define your sanity. You are probably not even old enough to even understand what you're fighting for. Do you understand? So I feel like if we understand that there are passive members of this thing, active members, give it time. And a lot of questions you're asking today are very, very rampant in the first trimester, those first 3 years, where, I mean, there's just a lot of chaos, right? For people who don't have, who are not lucky enough to either be soulmates or have proper guidance. So, Kumbi, I want to hear your templates.
Kumi, I want to hear from you. Or before then, Babs, do you want to go?
No, let Kumi respond to him.
I'm sorry. Someone was trying to get my attention. Okay, so my suggestions for who the third party will be will first of all be not someone that you are attracted to or the person is attracted to you. And let's not play dumb. We always know the person that likes us, that is trying to, you understand? For some people, the person is in their office. They call their office girlfriend. They know everything that is going on in the person's house more than the wife. The wife self does not know as much about her marriage than that third party. We need to be careful. So not that kind of person. Also, someone that, it may be someone, it may be a group of people, but it has to be a safe place. Somewhere that you know that your matter is not going to be tabled and discussed, and it has to be a safe place. And I recommend to every woman on this live to look for that safe place. For some people, it's in church. For some people, it's at work. For some people, it's a mentor. Like I said, it has to be somewhere that you are safe, because some people have mentors that are not of the same gender. And then you do not know that mentor is liking. You have to know. You have to be wise about these things. But another thing that I think is important, you have those situations, and a lot of women complain about it. You have situations where women, like I said, women attend all these conferences where they're trying to work on their marriages, and they just want things to be better. They want to have a good home, a safe place to raise their children, a place to come back to and feel happy about and fulfilled. It's just a woman thing. I don't know how to explain it that the men can understand, but it's just something about a woman. Most women, when they have issues in their marriage or their marriages fail, they blame themselves, even when it was obviously not their fault in any way. They just take it upon themselves and blame themselves. Or maybe I didn't do this enough. Even when it was a life and death situation, you still find some, I don't know if they call it, there's one name that someone who has suffered trauma from someone still has some emotional attachment to that person.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. So even in such cases where it was obviously abused, sometimes some women still feel that maybe I should have just kept quiet. Maybe I should not have complained. Whereas you are complaining is your fundamental human right to be able to say, I don't like this thing. I'm not comfortable with this thing. I desire change. So I in such a situation where it can really be frustrating, because the truth is most men don't attend. I'm sorry, with all due respect to the men here. I love you people. You even are my people.
He's trying to disrespect them with all due respect.
For most women, for most men, men don't see what
they
women
don't have all that.
problem.
That's true.
Funke, why you always agreeing with me?
No, but it's true. A lot of men. Have you ever seen a man going for a marriage?
So why is she saying with all due respect if it is true?
I just don't want you to say it's not an attack.
She's trying to say that don't take it, don't take it out of context, but it's the truth, because I think there's a lot of pressure on the woman concerning the home front. That's
especially
the truth.
In our
because
climate.
If the marriage works, is the woman. It's time for you to make your marriage work. The man, uncle. Is it true? I think it's two people. It's two people's work to make the marriage work.
Yeah. So in a situation like that, where Lucas, perfectly highlighted the fact that you cannot discount a spouse that whatever it is, the man is not going anywhere. I'm assuming this is a comment from a woman. The man is not going anywhere, right? You can't discount that. That's, but I think the woman then has to work on herself, has to somehow find, they say when life throws you lemons, you make lemonade. You have to find a way to squeeze out the lemonade from that situation. First of all, don't blame yourself. Sometimes, in fact, all the time, we are a product of our background, experiences. Some men have some experiences they witnessed growing up that they said, in my own, no, it will never happen. And I think that most times especially in our climate, we assume that when we're a certain age, we are ready to get married. There's with all the information we have about every other topic, most people are not knowledgeable about even this topic of marriage that they want to get into. Please hold on a second. I'm very sorry. So, please, can you remind when this boy?
Yeah, a lot of people are not knowledgeable about marriage.
They're not knowledgeable. We just assume that because we're a certain age, we are ready for it. Most people are not. There are some people even in their 50s, even in their 60s, they still are not knowledgeable enough about these things. So I think it's wrong for all of us. And I think even as parents, I mean, we're raising children and all that, I think we should be careful the impression we give children. You know, a lot of people just tell them, oh, yeah, of this age, you should get married. Have you as a parent taken time to teach your children about what expectations in marriage should be? Some people saw certain things growing up in their marriages. Their parents had this fairy tale, beautiful, loving marriage. And so the expectations were high. They never saw anything wrong. So they never expected anything to go wrong. So they were not prepared. And then you go into marriage and then you're surprised. So you, in a situation where you have a more, I would say more active, I won't say passive, and I'll say you have a more active spouse, I think that you have to come, first of all, to understand this is my situation. Appreciate what you've done so far. Love yourself. See the good in only yourself. And I think you should not compare with anything else you see, because people only show you the version they want you to see. Especially in the social media age, you see a lot of things and you begin to rate, oh, I wish this, oh, I wish that, oh, I wish. Me now, my husband does not open door for me. He does not open door for me. So, and I won't say that there's something wrong with him because he doesn't open the door. Me, I'm very fine opening the door for myself. I don't have a problem, but not every woman is built that way. So I think you need to work on yourself, improve on yourself, learn more, know more, understand these things, and just love yourself. And give yourself a pat on the back and say, I've done well so far, I'm doing well, and it can only get better. You should be your only yardstick. You should only want to improve, you know, be the better person. And me, I will add this one, pray. That's where I find that women can find consolation, they can find peace. You cannot do this thing if you are troubled inside. You cannot. You first of all have to find peace before, and you have to love yourself. You can't give what you don't have, so you need to love yourself. Then you are able to, despite the situation, still show love. I got this quote from I find nuggets in everything that I come across. It was a movie, and someone had gone to seek marriage advice from someone, and you know, in Nigeria they say don't put mouth, because they will come, is you they used to come and settle. So sometimes I've been in the place of being a third party, and I can say that this is what I'm going to say the next time anybody brings marriage matter to me. Love your spouse. This is how they said it in the movie. Love your spouse. There's no one that can resist the power of love. It is well with you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Babs, do you want to say anything about this question, or do we continue?
Okay, very quickly. You third party is fine if you're sure of who you're talking to. You want to report your wife to someone that beats his wife, you already know what your advice is going to be. You want to advise, or you want to report your husband to somebody who is very abusive, unsupportive to the husband, you know what the response is going to be. You want to report your wife to a man who is totally irresponsible, you know what the answer is going to be. So in getting a third party to vent to or to speak to about your marriage, it has to be a deliberate effort to identify who you speak to. And I assure you, it doesn't have to be a man of the cloth. It doesn't have to be, it has to be somebody you're very sure of how the person relates to his partner. So by seeing somebody on TV who is carrying the scripture, who is an imam in the mosque, does not mean you know what goes on in their houses. So for you to speak to anybody about relationship, you need to be sure of how their relationship is turning out. If you're not sure, then don't risk it. Absolutely. So you're sure that this person handles the relationship well, is a model, a real role model, that you can speak to that person. And then, like someone said earlier, you're willingly wanting to speak to somebody all the time or running to people to speak to all the time, it is not a very wise thing. And then finally, going into a marriage and giving yourself the option of a divorce will ultimately lead to a divorce. I'll say it again. Going into a marriage or a relationship, giving yourself the option of walking away from that relationship or the marriage will ultimately lead to you walking away from that relationship. Take that option off the table, and you will always look for a conflict resolution strategy. But once you put that option on the table, there are times that that option is the easiest thing to take, and you will take that option at some point.
Babs, I want to take you up on that last one. So when you first, you repeated it 3 times. When you first said it, I was going to write it down because it is true. But then I remember that this week, for the 5 days I was on the road driving to work, they were talking domestic violence.
Yeah.
And it is statements like this that keeps the woman there after the first slap.
Right.
So I feel like you might want to make that statement with a caveat. The statement is fundamental. It is true fundamentally that if you give the brain no option, it will sort it out. It's just natural. Right. The brain has no option A, option B, it will see that it's only A and it will work A.
Okay.
But I feel like there should be a caveat to it that, look, except when, I don't know, right now on the spot, I can't think.
I totally get what you mean, and I agree with you. That except when it's totally, when it's unavoidable.
When there is no form of
abuse. We don't want to, look at, so if we dwell on that, we're not going to finish tonight. But if you ask me, I'll say that whatever it is you were looking at, that you married somebody who is slapping you, or whatever it is you were looking at, like Kumbi said earlier, that she and her Oga, when they talk about things, you mean like, but you saw this thing before. Look at, till now, there is nobody that can come to me and tell me, this is what is going on in my marriage. And I don't try to blame them. The first thing I tried to tell them was, did you see this thing before? If you say you didn't see, you remember we've had this conversation before about the number of months, years that you should date somebody before you marry the person. I still maintain 2 years and above. And if you've gotten married to somebody, and of course the statistics support it that if you divorce, you're most likely going to divorce again. Once you've done the first divorce like this, now you go the divorce, you go. It is normal. If you see how many people have gone through how many divorces, the first one, the second one is even quicker than the first one. And then it goes on and on like that. So I don't want those two. Sir?
Experience don't do.
Experience don't do, so just the divorce they go. So I totally get where you're coming from that. We should not like, we're not putting that caveat of what if. But people, everybody that goes into marriages and relationships now should start accepting their own version of responsibility of who they marry or who they're dating. If you marry someone in 6 months or 3 months because you're in love and everything is doing you, I married the person. You didn't find out the person was beating you. You didn't find out the person has PTSD or he can bite or the guy can back. Sometimes we just be backing. That's on you. That's on you. You've just totally gone with. You see, we read all kind of things these days. Oh yeah, when I married him, I didn't even know he didn't have a job. Or I didn't even know he's still staying with his uncle. He has some ridiculous things. And I'm like, okay, whose fault is that? Who told you to go with this person?
Yeah, Babs, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I hope there's caveats in it, I get it. But if those options are on the table every time, if you know what, when we just go.
Also, I guess what I was trying to do was for the listeners, because I know that there are people on Funke's page who actually take nuggets from this program and apply it immediately. I guess what I was trying to do was to make sure that they understand.
They understand where you're coming from. So if there's any form of so if there's any form of abuse, like the person is beating you, you're punching back, we would not advise you to stay in that marriage because the truth is that we don't want to start,
but if the person is punching you as well,
saying,
please,
all right,
also accept your version of that responsibility for marrying a puncher. Yes.
Okay, so
for marrying a puncher, yes.
Okay, so that is for another topic, because we are still going to talk about abuse in marriage. So let's just let's continue with the conversation. So we have Kale Akins saying, I definitely think marriage is one thing we can never ever figure out. Two different people coming together will forever be a gamble. Life happens, we grow, we change. Kids come in and change us. That's very true. We process things differently. So we just have to do our best, give our best, be understanding, and pray that the person you are married to wants to do life with you and has similar values. That's very profound, and that's true. Thank you so much for that contribution. So we have Olapeju saying, I can hear Lucas speaking, but can't see him. Okay, so Lucas is, he went for a function, so he had already said earlier that he would, be speaking, but we will not be able to see him, but he's here with us. Thank you so much for that. So we have Sweet also saying, forgiveness, communication, understanding, and love is so key. Someone said marriage is two forgivers living together. That's very true and profound. So we have Babatunde Pokwala saying, thank you all for this insight. Thank you so much. I hope we answered your questions. So we have Chidima Ibe saying, aren't those traits seen during courting, the active and passive traits? While they were dating, I am sure decisions had to be made, and the active may have noticed this person is too quiet. Oh, that's very true. No, because I said earlier, when people were dating, as in, is it like you didn't see it earlier, but did you see the flag and all of that? Or probably maybe when you got into the relationship, it got to a point that the second person wasn't, interested in working on it any longer. And then we had other perspective that it might be that one person is active, maybe the person is an extrovert and the other person is an introvert. So there are different, perspective to this particular question. But I think Babs had said earlier that when you are courting, what are you doing during the courtship? Are you he said in other live sessions how it should be 2 years and above for courtship to be able to know your partner very well. So even if you married in 3 to 6 months, or you're doing like some people marry between 3 to 6 months and they have a fantastic, marriage, what were you doing at that time? Were you people getting to know each other, asking questions, or were you just going out to eat pizza and the like? So that is, something that for those people that are here listen to this broadcast and are not married yet, ensure that before you take that step, what exactly do you want from this marriage? Prepare yourself, like Kumbi will say, prepare yourself. Go and read or have more information about this institution that you want to enter into. Don't just say, okay, I'm 26 or I'm 25 or I'm 23, it's time to marry you, and just, jump into it. It might, before you stabilize, it might, take a while. So once you're prepared and once you know your partner and you sign that dotted line that this is the person I want to, be with for the rest of my life, ensure to make it work. So we have Tirana School saying, thank you so much for sharing on family life. Family is so vital in the Bible. Really, every good or bad thing in the society is traceable to the family. Let's sacrifice to raise our children well. That's very true. The values that we need to pass on to our children, let's do it from now. Because the truth is that whatever these children see, that's the next father tomorrow. That's the next mother tomorrow. And the truth is that you might be saying something, but it's the way you act that the children learn more. So as much as possible, show them the right example. Thank you so much for that. So we have Kale Akin saying, it is partly ego. So I don't know at that point where this came in. So we have Olapeju saying they are outgoing introverts that are generally friendly, but are very quiet when they are in their space. The only people who get to know this side of them are usually people who live with them. So this is another insight to the active and the passive, spouse. So I think it's for you to know your spouse. So you contributing to the family, is it in terms of, having active conversation, or so you need to know how you are, putting a lot into the marriage and the other person is not putting a lot into marriage? Is it when you want to have conversations and all that? So I think you need to know your spouse and know where the challenge is to be able to make it work. Yes.
Let me quickly say something.
So,
Yes.
A babe is dating a cute guy that
Yes.
happens to be quiet. Now, that is a very fantastic combination. A very cute guy that is quiet means that you will not find him philandering or doing stuff. So it's a good combination for a lot of women. The problem with a fine boy that is quiet is you accept him when you're dating because he doesn't make you jealous. He remains quiet in the marriage because he's a quiet guy. Then you now have a problem because he's quiet in the marriage and you want ginger. Now that you have him, he has paid and you guys have done everything. You now want ginger. But this is a quiet person and he doesn't seem to be fighting. I don't know if you get it. So this whole passive active partner thing is, look, the active partner will almost run mad. You know, it's a mental health challenge for the active partner. You have, you know, it is true. It is true. Look, there was one time when I can't remember the incident. I don't know if it was this year or last year, when I think something happened and I was asking, nobody sees the emotional, there's no evidence.
Lucas, are you there? Okay, so I think
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you said, yeah, you went off for a bit.
Sorry, I said there is no evidence for a man's emotional abuse, but a black eye can be photographed and the man will go to jail. Do you understand? So my point is the active person is the one that is quoted, is the one that apologizes, is the one that you can use their words against them. All the passive partner has to do is be quiet, because silence is associated with wisdom, maturity, and blah, blah, blah. So there's a delicate balance there for people that are actively seeking. And the way Kumbi put it, I'm tempted to agree, because Kumbi is my sister. And I know that Kumbi has done extensive work in female emancipation, working your marriage, and Kumbi is a faith person, so she's done it with faith people. So when Kumbi is telling you most women, she's probably picking out of 300 women that she knows personally, right? So I respect when she says, when Kumbi tells you most women, she actually has like quantifiable data of people in her phone. You understand? So when you say 60%, just know that the pool is like 300, 500, right? It's not 300 online, 300 that she can say K1 to K500. So my point at the end of the day is, right, when she says women are the ones that seek help and are active and everything, for the most part, it is true. But there is always that 1 to 10% of women who are just like men that want to be. See, some women will stay in whatever type of marriage for 20 years. And that's why, you know, the first time we had this, I said 3 things, and I have not changed. Creed, communication, and commitment to growth. And I said House of Cards. House of Cards, they were not religious. They believed in power. And it's a working marriage. Some people, both of you should believe in Jesus. Just make sure that both of you believe in the same thing. You understand? Whether it's religious, whether it's economic, whatever, just have the same common goal. Then communicate honestly and commit to growth. Those 3 fundamentals will always trump your issues, right? You get it? So there are some people that they will be quiet. They already know that I have signed the paper. Like Bob said, there is no option B, B1, B2. There's nothing like that. There's no A1, A2, right? So you walk around it as a passive person so you don't lose your mind.
Thank you for that. So thank you all for the question. So Olakwajo is saying these are real issues. That's very true. So I would want us to, you know, wrap up with we've taken a lot of time. Today I was like, okay, we'll just do 45 minutes and we're gone, and see the conversation is, we have a lot to talk about. So I'll just, you know, take the wrap up, and it's going to be like 2 questions in one, and you just give us quick answers, and then we'll wrap up for the day. So I would want us to please share a personal experience of how you dealt with insecurity in your marriage, and how do you prevent insecurity in your marriage? Sharp, and then we wrap up. Thank you. Ladies first.
Sorry, I was muted. Insecurity in marriage. I'm trying not to say anything from you. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not a
I think
personal experience.
a personal experience, right?
Yes, of how you dealt with insecurity in your marriage and how do you prevent insecurity in marriage. So 2 in 1, quick answer, and then we move.
Okay. Let me talk on a general women's level that cuts across with every woman. Is this phone checking matter? If you look for what is not looking for you, you will find it. If you want to enjoy peace, I know that there are special circumstances where checking the phone saved the woman's life. Especially, I don't think anybody should get married to anyone that they are afraid or cannot trust. They are afraid that something will come up in the future and all of that. I don't think if you have that vibe already, maybe vibe is the word that Gen Z use now. If you have that vibe already, please don't even bother.
Don't bother.
Because trust should be built upon, and not, if there's no trust, I'm not sure that marriage can really work. But don't check the phone. That's the honest truth. And just always make an excuse. You're not doing it because it's the truth. You're doing it because you are helping yourself. It's for your own good. It's for your own sanity. I always tell people that the greatest asset any human being can have is the mind. And you have to protect, the Bible will say, guard your heart with all diligence. It's an action word. You have to consciously guard your heart. You don't have to know everything. I know it may not sound right to some people. Some people don't agree they must know everything. It's what has worked for me. I know what I should know. And what I should know is good enough for me. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to know who is this person, who did you... I have great plans. I want to be there, and I want to see. Do you see these children? Nobody can love them and have good plans for them like me. Okay, aside God, but nobody can have great plans for them like I do. And I want to be there to witness these things happen for them. Yoruba will say, escort them to the point where they do not need to be afraid anymore. I want to be there for that. And for me to be able to do that effectively, I have to protect my heart. I have to guard my heart. I only know what I want to know. That's good enough for me. That's healthy enough for me, and all of that. Like I said, don't get married to anybody that you can't trust. If you're married to someone you can't trust, I think that philosophy will work for you. It has worked for me. It has helped me greatly, and it has helped me become a better person. I would say that I have improved and grown. Sorry, this is more than 2 minutes, but I've grown with age. I thought I was mature, but if I assess the things I did in the first 5 to 10 years of my marriage, I've been married for 14 years now, I would say that I don't know how I lasted this long in marriage. Let me just say that honestly. So I'm not coming here with a self-righteous, I know what I did, the right things. No. If I assess the things I did in the first few years of my marriage, I should not be married today. So I'll say that this philosophy has helped me get to where I am, and it's my prayer that it lasts the length of our lives. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, Babs, over to you, and then we'll take Lucas first.
All right. Okay. So solutions on how to deal with insecurity issues. Build self-esteem. Part of the reason you are insecure in the first place is because you have low self-esteem of self, low self-worth of self. You need to build that up. You need to know that you are a good person, you're worthy, you're deserving. You need to give yourself this affirmation. Secondly, you need to find out the cause of your insecurity. Is it some damages that you had way before you brought the baggage into the relationship or into the marriage? Did you bring all these loads from wherever you're coming from or wherever? Is it family issue? Is it generational issue? You need to look for the cause of why you're this insecure. Is there domestic violence history in your family? Did your father have maybe 2 extra wives outside that your mom didn't know about? You need to know that you cannot bleed on those that have not caught you, literally. Thirdly, trust, like Kumbi said. Trust is a decision. You give it because you decide to give it, all right? Trust I might not even deserve the trust, but you need to deserve to give me the trust because number 1, it helps your own peace of mind. Number 2, to whom much is given, much is expected. So when you give someone trust, I know people will betray trust and all of that, but when you give people trust, you're putting them under pressure to make sure they live it up. So you need to trust, all right? Stop overthinking things. Don't just sit down somewhere and just over-analysis, paralysis. You're just there, oh yeah, just thinking, the way this guy is smelling today, maybe he has one parole. The way this woman is, her skirt is, there's a way you can correct the way someone is dressed without you accusing them. There are ways you can say things and you already, in short, you've said it already. Like you want to, say something, you're already accusing the person. Forget, you don't talk and finish. Yeah? So overthinking is a problem. And then lastly, give your partner some space. As in, leave. All the giddy. Where are you? Calm down. Both sides. Where are you? I can hear somebody there. Where are you? Are you not supposed to be home at this time? You didn't marry a house help, either as the lady or the man. Cut your partner some slack. Giddy. Things like that particularly tires me out. Let me not lie to you. And my response to it is never good. Never good. Giddy. Give your partner some space. Yeah. Thank you very much. I hope that's helped.
Okay. No, go. Don't run.
Can't run from the personal
experience. You're supposed to share your personal experience.
Personal experience on how I dealt with insecurity, or
yep. Of how, yes, a personal experience of how you dealt with insecurity in your marriage. Yeah.
To be honest, I'm really not easily bothered about things. Like, I give excuses first. For example, I know that I cannot accuse anybody of anything if I don't catch them like red-handed. So I put myself in that headspace, mental space. Okay, so my wife is a QS, quantity surveyor. She works with property and stuff. There was this particular night, there's this client of ours that was calling, he was calling at maybe 1 or 12 a.m. or something. He wants the key to the house. It's one of the luxury apartments. And I heard when she was talking to her, it was a dude. And then she said she has to go and give him the key. Of course, my head was all over the place and stuff. And she was ready to drive out. The only thing I said was, okay, can I drive you there? Which I did at that time of the night. And I didn't ask anything. When she was going to give him the key, I stayed in the car and waited for her to do her job and stuff. But I just told, when I said trust is a decision, I just told myself that I believe she's just doing her job. I believe she's not up to anything silly. And I just put myself in there. And to be honest, this has helped me as well. I am not someone that inspires a lot of trust either. I'm a biker, I do night out, I club, my lifestyle does not evoke any kind of trust in so many people. And yet she decided to get married to such a man. So to be honest, when she does anything to me, I just carry my face and look the other way, that it can't be more than what she's dealing with, because I believe she's dealing with much more than I can ever think of dealing with. So I've never had case of where I'm pushed to be thinking what's going on, or I'm lashing out because she's talking to man on phone. She works late and she works with men, mostly property. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, Luke, over to you. Lucas.
So Babs has a way of just taking the entire big picture, and we are left with the frame.
Babs
is able to scavenge for the rest.
Yeah, So let me find the nails and where to hang the picture, since he has painted your picture.
Yeah, no. Help us.
All
right, so can we have that quickly?
Yeah, quickly. So for me, like I've insinuated, if you guys have caught on, my worst period in the marriage was the first trimester, where there was no sense of self and all of that. But I spent a year in India, and I literally just flushed and found who I was and who I wanted to be. So prior to that, I had this career indecision, where to go, how to go. And I'm married to a woman that how do I put it? She's not negative. There's no ounce of negativity. So there is space for you to grow if you want to grow positively. But what I've realized is those were my insecurities, but she did not fan them. She did not expose them. She did not push them out there. So it was for me to deal with. And I dealt with it abroad and came back my own person. And I've sort of grown from there. So that's what my personal experience is. But speaking to a lot of things that Babs has said, you would do yourself a big favor if you find yourself before marriage, or as soon as you get in, you start a self-discovery journey. And hopefully you're lucky enough that the kids don't distract or your partner understands the necessity of finding you. You understand? And there's something Bob said about trust. I would take respect over fidelity. Do you understand? I'll take respect over fidelity because I feel better. There's something Bob said. Even if, and Bob, sorry for this analogy, even if his wife had gone upstairs to do a quickie and come back to the car, it's not really Bob's problem, because when he said, "Can I drive you?" she didn't hesitate to say, "Oh, sure." So she had already killed whatever was going to grow by saying, "Oh, of course. In fact, I didn't want to drive. Why should I be driving at this?" So nothing was going to grow after that. But if he had gone, "Can I drive you?" and she goes, "Why? It's 1 o'clock. I don't want to bug you, blah, blah, blah." I don't know if you get. So for him, the fact that she did not hesitate and say, "Let's go," she has already won that battle. I don't know if you get. So I think at some point, respect even trumps fidelity. That's why a spouse can forgive another spouse for cheating, because at the core, it's not the cheating itself. It's the fact that I know where your heart is, and you get. So for me personally, I think my insecurities earlier was my career path. I didn't have hassles from my partner, but I did discover myself, and it's been, and I think everybody should do that self-discovery, which is something Kumbi has spoken to earlier, and Babs had highlighted as well.
Thank you so very much. In fact, I need to say thank you to each and every one of you. Today was explosive, like I said earlier. And I know that everybody learned one thing or the other. I learned a lot, as in my head is full. And I know that whoever is going to watch this broadcast after definitely is going to learn a lot. So let's quickly take comments and then we wrap up. So we have Chidima Ibe saying Babs did not give a personal experience. Oh, okay, we called him to order because I know he wanted to run, but he's not going to run. So we have Olakweju saying it would be good to avoid simple things that would obviously cause insecurity for your spouse. For example, you don't need a hug. You don't need to hug another man so tightly if you are not normally a tight hugger. So if you are married and even if you are a tight hugger, why would you hug another man tightly? Well, that's my own opinion too.
Some people will hug you tightly, e.g. this Mr. Lucas here, he pull you and hug you. So they know him.
So if your spouse, for example, if my spouse should know Lucas, I know that is Lucas, and he comes and he hugs me tightly, there will not be a problem. But if, so I would like to say that even our friends or people that we've known that are friends with us, we should actually let our spouse know them, so that when you're having conversation, there are names that you mention Babs, you mention this, you mention that. So when the person is talking and you mention, the person is comfortable because the person knows. But when you start mentioning or you don't mention, and one day you say, "Hey, so Babs, who is Babs?" But once they are in the know, once they are in the know, it just makes it it makes it easy. Yeah. So we have Olakweju saying that was good, Babs. It could have escalated to something else if handled differently. That's very true. Babs, respect. So Babatunde Pokwala is saying Babs did not disappoint me with laughter. Yes. Thank you so much for everybody that tuned in today. If you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe. We have amazing content here. And to everyone, to our guests tonight, I would like to say thank you so much. Thank you for always honoring our invite. When next we call you, when next we just say it's time, and you're always here. And I would like to say, prepare yourself because we are coming back for part 4. So this is Gbogbo Swagger, and this is Swagger's Lifestyle. I will leave you with this. Communication is key. In your marriage, ensure you communicate. That line of communication should never be closed at any time in life. This is Gbogbo Swagger, and this is Swagger's Lifestyle. Do take care and compliments on the season, and have a wonderful evening. Bye. Thank you, Babs. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you, Kumbi. Thank you so much.
You're always
Bye.
welcome.
Hi, guys. Nice one.
Babs, nice one. Hey, Fash.
Baba, I greet you, man. Oh, you don't reach out?
Yeah.
Lagos people, there's no fuel now.
Eventually.
No fuel, they're in traffic.
Last time, I can't deal with Lagos, man. I don't know how you guys do it. I can't. Like, I do
Lagos
love
is
them,
another
but
kingdom
I
on
don't
its own.
fit, man. I just ran off at some
Maybe
point.
we'll do a program about Lagos. I don't know. All right. It was a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Compliments.
Bye.
One day we'll do a person
yes,
physical.
It will be wonderful to have that very soon.
We see Gbogbo Swagger having.
We'll sit in a room. That should be fun.
Yes, and we'll sit in a room and just have it, bear it all. Boom. Like there was a time when we had the conversation of what women want. Oh, they almost tore Babs apart. I started feeling for him.
I think you mentioned that one
like
time.
they were going to scrape his hair.
And Babs will have said things that he knows will be explosive, and you just.
I'm telling you. And you know
In
when
a
they are
very
pulling on someone's head and the person is saying, "I need say this is what I'm saying."
Kumbi, doesn't Babs give you what Wale need to read?
I wish that you didn't catch that.
He does.
Hey, Babs, you said what?
I wish that you didn't catch that day. Someone said
No, so the thing
I
is,
have no respect for women that was patronizing.
No, so the difference between
your friend
we are supposed to bring what women want, so we'll still bring that this thing back.
It's Lucas that will face them this time. No,
maybe this time around we'll bring Lucas.
The difference between Babs and I is they form diplomacy, even though I agree with everything he says. But he has a very thick skin, so he can take the beating. Yeah, I like to go back online and receive likes. Babs does not care.
Babs doesn't care about that one. Babs will say, I said, this is my point. And and that I felt for Babs. It was as if maybe I brought Babs, like it's time for them to deal with you.
Yeah.
Now
Lucas go face them next. No,
hopefully I read that book. Kumbi wrote one, but she has not finished it. What women want. When she finishes writing, maybe I'll read it.
Don't worry, I'm working on it.
In fact, we can't wait.
We'd like to read the book. Forwarded and edited by Lucas.
No, voila, but this is Funke. I must really commend that. I must commend you for the series. It seems to be growing, and I see all the other things that you do. So it's nice that it's not monotonous, and it's. I mean, I wasn't expecting this question, so it kind of.
I didn't see it coming either.
Don't worry. That I said. The next one, you will never see it coming.
It's fine, but it's. I like that it's growing, and people can follow. Episode 1, 2, they can follow the series and see growth. You get,
and
somehow that's true. Because even when the flyer came out, a lot of people were like, "Yay! Finally! Oh my days!" They were, the response I got was, very, very, very encouraging. So I think it's a series that has come to stay, and we'll just keep. It's like an onion. We just keep.
Yeah, hopefully, because a lot of people have no idea what they're getting into. So it's nice. It's nice. And these are real life experiences.
Thanks, guys.
But bro,
Stay
like I
fine.
said earlier, anytime I see people that the way they come, they talk, say, no. It still shocks me that some people just take marriage with a lot of levity. You just meet somebody and just say you want marry. Like person where you don't know from anywhere, nobody's in that group together say you want marry. Do you know this person? Where does this person work? What's the mental capacity of this human being? What is the temperament of this person? That's say I love the person, I love the person. At the end of the day, nobody love they take the marry.
Yeah,
Some people
and
have
the
it as trajectory. After the university, after I'm
yeah,
done, I get a job.
it's a
Next is
checklist.
married. That's it.
It's a checklist.
So people do
And
not see that they need to
I'm,
be equipped and prepared for it.
I'm thinking as well that even though some people, okay, yeah, this is the logbook, but too many people have made the mistake for other people to still be falling into the same mistake. Why do you want to be the lesson onto people rather than learning from others' mistakes?
Hmm.
You just wake up, just say, okay, now you want to marry. You don't even know who you want to marry. You don't even know who you want to. For a lot of guys, when they talk to you, oh, yeah, they treat their women anyhow. The kind of women they want to marry. Some people just want to marry bum and breast, and then eventually they
The
turn up and
secret.
start money.
We're still going to come to that now. How do you choose
That
your partner?
my wife cannot even do assignment. And she tells me that she did do their homework for school that time. No, you define World Cup. Not true now.
So
I mean,
Babs, you know what? And this is where I put a lot of blame on religious leaders. I put a lot of blame on religious leaders. And the reason why I do that is a lot of people believe marriage is a religious concept. So they seek it in the religious environment. And the
But it
religious
is actually.
no, that's your belief. That's your belief. You have to say, I believe it is. And I can say, I believe it isn't. And neither of us might be wrong. Because it's a giant world out there. There are marriages that are not built on any religious creed, and they are fine. So what do you say about that, Grace?
very fine. As a matter of fact, research also has, and I can give you an example with Oprah. Oprah has been living with one man for how many years, and it's fine. There's so many people that when they were partners, everything is fine. They divorced 1 year after they married. They do official marriage. And it happens a lot with these stars and all of that. This is not negating marriage in its entirety. We're just saying that is it time we start looking at these unions in other light?
Yes. So, Babs, the thing is, where I was going with that was, the moment you take it from checklist to religious to the next step, the next natural step is, it has to be my pastor. The next thing is, pastor has a job to do, which means I will refer you to the counseling unit. It's a process. The
counseling unit with the counselors
as pastors who have to do a job, whether Funke and her husband have domestic violence or not, the fact that they are the counselors, they have a job to do.
And look, I said something earlier. I said, if I'm going to ask Lucas for relationship advice, well, I need to know your wife or your girlfriend. I need to know the kind of relationship that exists between you guys.
Did say that.
We are off air now. We can talk freely. People will go
we're
and
not
somebody.
We're actually still live.
We need to go off air, please. Let's go.
I think we should all sign out and then now come back on the Zoom.
I know we're okay.
So let's go back. Let's go out and then come back again. So so Chidima Ibe is saying they feel theirs will be different. I think for those people that are actually going into marriage, without really, I think probably that's what she was referring to, because we still have people, online. Still listening. Yes. So she's saying you are not awful. Okay. All right. So Never has dealt with us here. So I think let's all just log out and then we can come back and do. All right. Thank you. Because we still have people, online.
Hello?
I think the host has to end the meeting. If not, it's still going to be live.
Yeah, I'm getting the host to end the meeting. Let's just all go off, then I'll let you know when to come back on. I'll send you personal messages.